how much, how important, I guess is a better way to put it, how important was it to you to do something to honor Jim Durkin?
Um, well, obviously for us, it it's very important. We lost Jim too young, and Jim was in the process of removing himself from the band
Okay.
at the time, which that was something that he always had given us the caveat about when we
Hmm.
first started getting together. The talks started coming around in 2013, and then by 2014 was coming around, we were starting to play the shows, all those initial shows, and Jim was in the process of minimizing his scope within the band. He's like, I always want to keep writing, but as for playing live and things like that and being involved in the record, I'm not going to have much time available to be able to do that. So Jim himself took the steps to usher in his successor,
Hmm.
Lara Christine. He got Lara in the band. Yeah, she's my wife, but it had nothing to do with me.
Sure.
I had played him some of Lara and my project. When Jim and I were getting together and writing stuff. I had our latest demo recording that Lara and I had done. I played it for Jim. He freaked out, lost his mind, said, "Oh my God, she's my favorite guitarist. God, listen to those riffs; those are killer." And he then went about placing her in his stead, I guess.
Hmm.
So he went to the band himself. I had no idea about this till years later.
Okay.
He went to the band and said, "Look, those times I talked about, those are coming up. So I want Lara to replace me. What do you guys think?" And it was, unanimous decision all around, apparently. So Jim was very important in naming his successor and therefore, allowing this band to continue easily. I mean, he could have said, "Hey, when I quit the band, I want you guys to break up." Jim
Sure.
was never going to say that, but so he placed the steps in motion for it to be a relatively seamless transition. And so that transition had already been happening when Jim passed away. We didn't know that Jim was going to be leaving us.
Right.
We knew he was just going to be stepping back from we didn't think he was going to be passing away. We found out afterwards. So
Sure.
he had just gone quiet on the text threads and quiet on the returning of phone calls and email returns and things like that, responses, which was not unheard of from Jim to go for weeks and months of radio silence from his end. We were used to that, so we didn't think anything of it, that we hadn't heard from Jim in a little bit. Then we got the phone call about what had happened the day before, and that was pretty devastating.
Sure.
And so the one way that we did try to pay homage to Jim and honor his legacy was, Darkness Descends was a pretty important record for Dark Angel. And
Sure.
from what I've come to understand over the years, it's become a pretty important album in terms of the metal timeline and things like that. So, hey, let's play this album in its entirety. Every show that we ever did that, not every show that we did contained Darkness in its entirety, but those shows that did contain it in its entirety, we tried to dedicate the entire night to thoughts and memories of Jim. And so that has led us to, that was a very, I don't want to say closure of that chapter, but that we were able to complete that chapter, and now we are in the position to start the new celebration of the new record. And so I know that's what Jim would want, and we've honored Jim by making the song that he wrote the title track.
Right.
When he was writing it a decade or so ago, had a working title, had a separate title. It's become kind of just, it was the song. I've always had that title.